my name is Nikki, and today I'm going to inform you on how to dress for a funeral in 2 different cultures. Have you ever wondered, what should I wear to a funeral? Depending on the religion and culture, funeral attire can be the exact opposite. I'm currently studying this topic in my cultural geography class, and I myself find it very interesting to find out why and how traditions came about. I personally am a native-born North American, and I was curious how and why and when some of these traditions became ingrained in us. Most North Americans identify as Christian. A statistic from Wikipedia representing just how many North Americans are Christians. According to Wikipedia, in 2016, Christians represent 73.7% of the total population. I will be comparing the American culture with the Indian culture, specifically with the funeral attire customs. I will touch base on when and why these cultural traditions started and what the funeral outfits are like today. Specifically, I chose these two because Christian and Hindu are 2 of the top 3 most popular religions in the world, and their funeral attire customs seem to be the complete opposite. So first, let's talk about the American culture and their funeral attire customs. Here is an example, a visual aid of a funeral in America. Funeral in America, everybody's wearing black or a very dark color. You can see that it's clearly a funeral. They're carrying a casket. So everybody's wearing black. This is in America. I am a native-born North American, and I can remember far back into my childhood how we all will automatically wear the color black or a very dark color. There seemed to be no second thought about it. So I did some research and found kind of when this all started. During the Roman times, dark colored togas were worn by the families in mourning. During the medieval times, family members also wore black clothing to funerals. The widows in medieval times wore black clothing to show the grief and mourning for their husbands for months to even years following a spouse's death. This would then lead into the Victorian era. The Victorian era is when Queen Victoria ruled the British Empire. Queen Victoria was married to King Albert, and they seemed to be a very significant influence during these times. The society surrounding her looked up to her values, morals, and standards. The Victorian era's morals, values, and the Christian church was also greatly influenced by the Queen. In Windsor, London, December 1861, King Albert had died from an illness, leaving his wife, Queen Victoria, a grief-stricken widow. This was an enormous loss for the royal family. Victoria was seen mourning her late husband by wearing the color black for the rest of her life. So he died in 1861, and she didn't die until 1901. So she wore black in a state of mourning for about 40 years. This important public figure helped to ingrain the color black into our Christian funeral attire customs due to the feeling of mourning and sadness that this represents. Most Americans automatically will think to wear the color black or dark color to a funeral in order to show respect for the mourning family and sorrow for the deceased. Next, the Hindu culture and traditional funeral attire customs in India. Here is an example of a funeral in India. It's a Hindu funeral. As you can see, everyone is wearing white. They are all wearing white, and they're also carrying a casket. This is clearly a picture similar to the other one, except this one's in white and the other one's black. So the Hindu culture with the traditional funeral attire customs seem to be the complete opposite with the color scheme. During the medieval times, white was combined with black to also be worn at funerals. White is a more positive connotation that can represent purity, perfection, joy, and respect during funeral cultures. White is worn at Buddhist funerals. White can also be found at funerals in some of the Asian cultures. And white is the main color worn at Hindu funerals. Hinduism is the 3rd most popular religion in the world with over 1 billion followers. Hindu religion believes in reincarnation and that death in one body will soon be reborn into another body. The dress code for men and women at a Hindu funeral will have a cloth covering on their heads. Women will often dress conservatively, covering their arms and knees as well. The Hindus will wear mostly white to show honor and purity for the deceased. They will use this time as a celebration of life, and white can be a color representing joy and that their deceased loved one will soon be reborn into a new life. Finally, let's talk about the color psychology of black and white. From beyondthedash.com, it says, black is a symbol of death across many cultures, religions, and regions around the world. However, the color black also symbolizes evil, aggression, and fear in many works of art and literature. Some believe these connotations aren't the most positive message for funerals and choose to wear other colors like white instead. The psychology of the color black represents depression, evil, death, mourning, elegance, formal, secrecy, and many other negative connotations. The psychology of the color white represents perfection, light, purity, new beginnings, innocence, goodness, and many other positive connotations. All cultures have a justifiable reason of which color they prefer to wear to funerals. To summarize what I just informed you about, in Christian American culture, the funeral attire will usually be all black, as depicted here. So in the Christian American culture, the funeral attire will usually be all black or very dark colors. Black dresses, black shirts, pants, black suits. In the Hindu culture, the funeral attire will usually be all white. White dresses, white robes, white scarves, white head coverings. A good rule of thumb to live by would be to wear something conservative and be the color of the deceased family's choosing. Keep in mind the deceased religion and their cultural traditions as well, to show your respects to the mourning family. In closing, we all have death and funeral customs in our cultures. Our traditions have evolved over the past hundreds of years. Today at funerals, Christians typically will wear a dark color or the color black to show respect for the mourning family. Hindus will typically wear white to funerals to show honor, respect, and purity as the soul will be reborn into a new body soon. We all have experienced the loss of a loved one. We all come from different backgrounds and cultures. It's important to be considerate of a person's religion and culture when sharing their sorrow while they mourn a loved one at a funeral. I hope this helps you and gives you a better understanding of how to choose what to wear when going to a funeral. Thank you.